Miami Condo Mondays is a live podcast on the first workday of the week at 4 p.m. South Florida time. The program features former journalist and current Wall Street consultant Peter Zaleski of the Miami Condo Investing Club and former lender and veteran condo broker Jenny Huertas of CVRRealty.com. Recorded weekly in greater downtown Miami, this 1-hour discussion will provide a refreshing and sometimes controversial perspective on the state of the South Florida condo market from a pair of seasoned real estate professionals who do not always agree. The program won't tell you what to think about the South Florida condo market, but will give you something to think about before buying, selling, taking listings, or financing units. This podcast is not authorized by the Miami real estate industry and will quite possibly annoy many of its figureheads. Welcome to this week's episode of Miami Condo Mondays, broadcast live on the social media accounts of Peter Zaleski and Jenny Huertas.
Happy Monday, Miami. This is Miami Condo Mondays, a real estate podcast where we're going to delve into what's going on in the condo market in the Tri-County, South Florida area. I'm Peter Zaleski. I'm a condo consultant. I'm an expert witness. I'm also the founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. I'm joined here by my partner, Jenny Huertas. She's a broker owner of CVR Realty. Check out our website, cvrrealty.com. Jenny's a former financier. She's also a real estate broker. She's been doing it for north of 20 years. We're going to give you a straight talk as to what's going on in the market. What are we talking about today? This week of Thanksgiving, the symbolic beginning of the ultra-important winter buying season. What are we talking about? We're going to talk about ultra-luxury condos. You keep hearing everything about it. This person bought one. That person bought one. This is the hottest market all around. Well, we're going to tell you there's 78 months of supply. That's over 7 years of supply. If nobody else comes on the market, 7 years from now, all the product will finally be sold. But a lot of different details around with that. So I'm going to talk to Jenny, and we're going to discuss this. She's sold multi-million-dollar condos. She's going to help us understand what's the difference between a condo, a luxury condo, and then an ultra-luxury condo, which we are defining as $20 million or more. And for what it's worth, your maintenance fee on one of these ultra-luxury condos on a median basis, about $1.71 a square foot per month compared to Miami-Dade County average maintenance fee, according to First Service Residential, big property management company, $1.15. So about 49% more in maintenance fees that you're burning every single month on every square footage. So when you walk in that place and you see that beautiful foyer, or you walk in that bathroom and it's massive, I want you to be thinking about the maintenance fee. That's a long way of saying, Jenny Huertas, CVR Realty, welcome to the Miami Condo Monday show, and we're talking ultra-luxury condos, Jenny.
Thank you, Peter. Happy Monday, and I love this topic, obviously.
Yes, you do. Jenny, before we delve into it, let me sort of lay out kind of the rules of engagement. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the overall market right now, because some people, maybe they're coming down for Thanksgiving, which is 4 days from now, or maybe they're going to be coming after Thanksgiving and they're trying to think about, maybe I ought to be looking for a condo, maybe I shouldn't. Ultra luxury, I keep reading about it, whether it's in the press out of New York, it's online, it's the Wall Street Journal. We're going to try to help people understand what's going on in the overall market, but I really want to hit on that ultra luxury side, because it's the 1%ers, and we all know we are in a current period of time when everything is going to the fat cats. So let's understand what's really going on in that particular marketplace, and maybe you can shed some light as to how it worked, why people want it, and what they're ultimately able to sell it for. So that will be the goal. And Jenny, too, I'm going to want you to talk about pre-construction. A lot of stuff that you find in the multiple listing service, because you pulled some data for us, a lot of stuff you don't you find in the MLS, it's not actually everything. There's a lot of new condo projects going up, and they're not sharing their information. For what reason? I don't know. Maybe it's exclusivity. Maybe they don't want people like us taking a look at the data and being able to compare apples to apples. What do you say to that, Jenny?
I agree. They only put one or two just for the people to find the project, but they're not interested to know the people to know what the inventory is, available inventory, especially now that, sales are slowing down.
Especially since sales are slowing down. And Jenny, that's a great reference. We talked last week about how about a month ago or so, you said it felt like 2007. I ran some statistics from the summer buying season. Summer buying season basically is going to go from May through October. It's a critical time because in the front end of the summer buying season, that's all the people who had been shopping over the winter. They close. And then in the second half of the summer buying season. That's when it begins the momentum that leads into this winter period right now. And keep in mind, winter buying season is the ultimate time to come down here and shop for a condo. How does it work? Well, there's all kinds of events going on. The weather is spectacular. And also, too, you're going to have the carnival-like atmosphere. Whether you go to a restaurant, a club, anywhere, there's always something going on. Everybody descends on South Florida, especially Miami. They have a great time. They feel like, hey, I'm working hard. I deserve it. Maybe I ought to buy a place. Maybe I'll retire here sometime in the future. And they've been doing it for 100 years. So winter is when you shop. Well, you do other stuff, but you also shop. And in summer is typically when you transact. I did a story when I was writing a column for the Miami Herald, probably about 10 years ago or so. I did a story taking a look at transactions, and the busiest time is actually going to be the second quarter and third quarter, which is primarily the summer. So right now it's critical to shop. This is when people are kicking the tires. They're window shopping, and then ultimately those deals that they ultimately find and end up transacting, they're going to close once we start to get to those hot and humid days when hurricanes are on everybody's radar. Right now, no hurricanes, Jenny. Condo launch parties. That's what everybody's all about. They all want to go out there. They want to drink the free booze. They want to chow down on the free meals. They want the salespeople to make them feel like they're smart, they're special, and that's why they ought to buy into one of these buildings. Any suggestions for the people who might be coming down for the winter? What do you suggest about condo launch parties? What do you suggest about looking for a condo? Just give us kind of a big overall picture.
Well, lately I noticed that it's not for everybody. Like now they do more like a private showing, and it's very super elegant. The server will come with the white gloves, and there will be champagne, and there will be Dior's because they want to try the chef that any brand is having at the restaurant in a project. So it's different. It's not like used to be like there are a lot of the launching parties for realtors. I think the developers change a little bit on that. They do that when they do the rooftop or the groundbreaking. They do that, but not like they used to do these big parties for brokers like before. I think
no, you're telling me the weekly condo launch parties where you could basically just show up. They had entertainment going. They had waiters wandering around offering free grub. You wander up to the bar. You call whatever you want. Those days are gone?
I think so. It's a different approach. And they do, as I said in the other podcast the other day, they do offer like a special education for brokers, either in the luxury, the branding, AI, EV5, a lot of different things to be actually more, to the point, instead of being just a party where the people come and never come back. So I think it's smart from that point of view, because they want you to learn the project, but it's not as used to be. I think they want to restore that experience for the prospective buyer when you bring them on.
Okay, Jenny, now I made reference to summer buying season. We ran data and we looked at the 2025 summer buying season. We compared it to the peak of 2021 when state of Florida said, remember during the pandemic, vaccine had just come online. State of Florida said you don't need to wear a mask. So in other parts of the country, you did have to wear a mask. A lot of people came down here because of, just that they didn't have the restriction. And also, too, Miami Beach permitted, they didn't necessarily sign up, but they permitted people to jump up on cop cars, police cars, and twerk. So everybody flooding in here, they jacked up the sales. Prices went up 69%. The amount of transactions, which had been like 18,000 over a course of a summer, in 2021, when you didn't have to wear a mask and you could twerk on a police car, we went to 28,000 sales. Fast forward to where we are in 2025. They have plummeted. They've just fallen off the table, coming in at just under 13,000 sales. This is the fewest number of sales in the summer buying season since all the way back to when Lehman Brothers failed. So we're talking 18 years or so ago, 17 years. So Jenny, I guess I'm wondering on these condo launch parties, and I'm really bummed out about it. I got a buddy who used to come with me all the time when we would go to these launch parties. That guy didn't give two shits about what was being said. He was just there to eat. In fact, one time, a famous developer down here called George Perez of the Related Group, he was giving a presentation. My buddy was behind him chowing down. So everybody is looking at this presentation by George Perez. My friend turns around, he sees him. He didn't care. He just keeps shoveling the food down his mouth. So they're getting rid of the riffraff. None of that anymore. And Jenny, is that because sales are tough and they don't want to burn cash, or have they learned and they're thinking, okay, let's be a little bit more cost conscious? Because remember, we do have Liberation Day tariffs. We have the grocery store prices going through the roof. Everybody's talking about affordability. So what does your gut tell you? Is it a fact of affordability and they don't want the riffraff, or what is it exactly?
I'm not sure. All we speak here about that is probably speculative, but I think it's more focus, changing the strategy, and making sure that the realtor that is going to their project is learning from the project, and when they bring this possible client, especially if it's ultra luxury, that's when you have that experience. I had visited some of the sales center on my own to preview for my clients, and they are spectacular with me. Like really, you feel special and everything, but it's a one-to-one experience. It's not the masses any longer, and I think it's the strategy wouldn't apply in this particular market because the market is super luxury. So they need to go to the source of the agents that really have this kind of clientele. That it's not for everybody. I mean, remember when those times happened, our market was built for the masses, and it's not anymore the case.
That's a very interesting point, Jenny, talking about that, and built for the masses before, and now it's pretty much the 1%ers or so. Let me just let me give people context just really quickly. If you kind of look at what the pricing is going for, and I'll share something quickly, but I don't want to get too bogged down to it. But if you look at most condos that are on the market, I mean 57% of them for sale today are under 400 grand. You throw in another 19% are below 700 grand. I'm not saying 700 grand is reasonable, but the lion's share is going to be, this is on the resale market, it's going to be below $700,000 or so. Somewhere in that vicinity, it's going to be like 75%. So I guess what you're saying is the developers, because land costs, because construction costs, because everything else involved with that, realize that the real money is on the luxury high end. And because of the luxury high end, that's where they want to play. Jenny, for instance, the average asking price for a condo right now in South Florida as of today, when you pull the numbers, coming in at $512 a foot. But when we get to this ultra luxury side that we're going to be discussing, again, 20 million or more, the average asking price is $4,700 compared to $512 a foot. So I guess if we're doing a party for the $512 a foot, which is still expensive, 1,000 square foot place is 500 grand. But when you're doing it for the 500 bucks a square foot, you can bring in some, I don't know, Cheetos, and you can get some Tang, and you get some knockoff soda, and some
You're so funny.
Mad Dog 2020, maybe some Manischewitz wine. You could go that way, Blue Nun. But when you're talking
That's never be
$4,700,
like that.
but $4,700 a foot, you need to bring in some pretty special stuff in order to convince somebody to part with that much cash. I mean, when you walk in your bathroom, anybody who's watching this, go in your bathroom, take a look. And I want every single step you take, I want you to think about $4,700 a square foot. That's what kind of premium they're charging.
Yeah.
And apparently, they want to go the way of Las Vegas, where Las Vegas, when the whales come in, those so-called gamblers who put a lot of money on the line, they wine and dine them. Everybody else, from what I'm hearing, Las Vegas, they're not putting in resort charges. They're hitting them with junk fees. They don't want the riffraff anymore. They want the whales. And it sounds like that's what's going on in the condo market in South Florida right now on the pre-construction side.
This is true. I mean, before we had this conversation, I even didn't realize that until we analyze it. Because, I heard that there is some launching parties, but it's not like before. Like we have every week, we had 2 or 3 or 4. So you wouldn't do anything else. Like every day you would go to one of them to get to know the project. Now they do buses. They do now they do tours in some of the projects that are in the vicinity, and they're the same developer. They actually do a tour where they take the people and pretty much educating them, making sure that they do learn the project in order for them to sell it. Before, they will do a small presentation. You will go to the sales center later on. Normally, you have a client that will be interested if you like, the party or the ambience or the project itself. Now, yes, I realize that it's target. It's more targeted toward, the rich clients that you want to buy in these super luxury towers. I mean, they are super luxury.
Yeah. That's interesting, Jenny. We're gonna get into the numbers shortly if anybody's watching. And by the way, we do these podcasts every day at 4 o'clock weekdays. I'm always doing a podcast talking about something else. Miami Condo Mondays with Jenny Huertas, my partner at CVR Realty. We're talking about the overall market. We're also talking about the newsletters that I put out on Sunday. The reason we're not talking about my newsletter is one of 3-part series. It's all based on Jenny's call a month ago that felt like 2007. We ran the numbers. It looked like 2007. We ran them through Gemini AI, and Gemini AI basically confirmed what Jenny had saw. So I did a 3-part series based on all the research associated with that. If anybody hasn't seen it, I'd encourage you to check it out. Right now, the summer of 2025 statistically is very similar to where we were in 2007, the precursor to ultimately what happened in 2008 when Lehman Brothers failed and prices sort of free fell and yada, yada, yada. So that's why we're not talking about that this week. Next week, we're going to be getting into other subjects, but I thought it was important for Thanksgiving to kind of talk about people coming to town and kind of give people an understanding of where we are in the marketplace. And that's one of the reasons why we're getting into this ultra luxury side, because that's all you're going to hear about. In the press, you're going to hear about this condo and that condo and that condo and this condo. Let's actually quantify it. That was the conversation. That was topic for the presentation. Jenny, I want to go ahead and I want to just share with everybody really quick.
Okay.
Well, you know what? Before we do that, Jenny, why don't you give us your definition? Give us a condo. Give us like a luxury condo, which has always been $1 million or more, and then give us some insight into an ultra luxury condo. How do people realize if it's a condo, it's a luxury condo, or it's an ultra luxury condo? Besides price, what do you think they're going to see? Are there more valets? Is there a
Yes.
name brand? Is it bigger square footage? Is it the appliances? Can you give people basically a rough estimate? Condo, luxury condo, $1 million or more, and then ultra luxury condo, $20 million or more.
Okay, so